If you build a foundation realm, you can serve as the outer gate elder of the Qingxuan Gate. As for the Jiadan realm, it was already at the level of the Qingxuan Gate sect master, deputy gate master, inner gate elder and others. As for the subsequent Yuan infant realm and transformation god realm, they could only be seen in the more powerful sects. If Ling Xuan could quickly recover to the condensed Qi realm, he would definitely be able to protect himself. The next day, as soon as Ling Xuan woke up, he heard a crying sound outside. When he opened the door, he saw that it was Lei Yong and his two younger brothers who were uniting to beat up an outer disciple. While beating back, he cursed and scolded, "Last month, you borrowed 20 lower-grade spirit stones from Lao Su, and according to the agreed interest, you will return me 30 yuan with interest this month." The two little brothers shouted in a hurry, "Yes, yes, Brother Lei only took 25 of your lower spirit stones this time, and he has already done his best." The disciple cried, "That's what I saved up to buy the forging body pill. If I don't have it, I will definitely not be able to pass the year-end assessment. Brother Lei, you return it to me. Brother Lei, please." Quote. The outer disciples who saw this scene showed two completely different attitudes. Those who were strong and strong, similar to Lei Yong's realm, or higher than him, all held their arms and watched, looking like they didn't care about themselves. And they didn't have the idea of coming out to help. Those with weak strength are full of fear, for fear that the next person to be robbed will be themselves, and they also dare not come out to help. In the end, they all just watched as the outer disciple was beaten and covered in blood. Lei Yong stepped on this disciple's chest and sneered, "Remember, you still owe me 5 lower-grade spirit stones." The two little brothers smiled and said, "Brother Lei, let's go to the fire stove hall to eat." Quote. Lei Yong snorted coldly, "Well, after eating and going to the Tibetan scripture pavilion, Lao Su has to pick a great martial art." The three of them said and walked away. Ling Xuan was just watching in the room. He was not strong now, and naturally he would not come to the rescue. Moreover, he knew the outer disciple who was beaten. When the predecessor was still the first in the outer gate, he acted generously and often helped weak disciples. The man who was beaten was one of them. But after the predecessor fell back to the forging body realm, none of the people he had helped him. The same is true of the man who was beaten. However, Lei Yong actually has another chance. Ling Xuan thought thoughtfully. Just now, he clearly saw Lei Yong's panel information. Name: Lei Yong. Realm: forging body realm Dacheng. Life: family children, dancing knives and guns, little luck. Fate: the last step condensing Qi realm Dacheng, served as the deacon of Qingxuanmen, and was casually killed by passing evil monks when he went out on a mission 7 years later. Recent chance: I felt that the means to ward off the enemy were a little lacking, so I went to the Tibetan scripture pavilion to select martial arts. And accidentally got a Xuanjian martial art in the cover of Tiger Roaring Fist. Ling Xuan noticed two things. First of all, Lei Yong's fate has changed a lot. Before, it stopped at the peak of the condensation Qi realm, but now it directly descended to the condensation Qi realm Dacheng. This shows that the essence cleansing pill has indeed given Lei Yong a huge boost. After all, it can wash the meridians and remove impurities from the body, which is equivalent to speeding up the speed of cultivation in the future. Secondly, it is Lei Yong's recent chance. Go to the Tibetan scripture pavilion to select martial arts, and you can actually discover Xuanjian martial arts. This is the chance that only the protagonist of the novel can have. Ling Xuan sighed in his heart. Exercises, martial arts, like treasures, are divided into 4 levels of heaven and earth xuanhuan, and each step is also the 4 grades of the extreme, upper, middle, and lower. Outer disciples, every time they break through the small realm, they can choose a yellow order exercise or martial art for free in the Tibetan scripture pavilion. The rest of the time it must be purchased at the expense of spirit stones. Xuan rank martial arts, on the other hand, can only be obtained for free only if they reach the inner disciples. Or, you need to spend at least 300 lower-grade spirit stones to buy. When Ling Xuan's body was still the first in the outer gate before, he also wanted to save money to buy Xuanjian martial arts. But he came from a poor background and was on his own. The spirit stone will be used to buy the forging body pill again. Therefore, he never saved enough spirit stones. If he could get this Xuan rank martial art, his strength would definitely skyrocket. While he went to the fire stove hall for breakfast, I rushed to the Tibetan scripture pavilion 1 step ahead so that I could take that Xuanjian martial art in front of him. Ling Xuan thought so, and immediately went to the Tibetan scripture pavilion. Qingxuanmen is built in the Qingkang mountain range. The tallest and largest is Qingkang mountain. Miscellaneous disciples and outer disciples lived at the foot of the mountain. Buildings such as the Pavilion of the Scriptures, the Treasure Pavilion, and the Inner Gate Disciple Courtyard are located halfway up the mountain. Further up is the place where the elders, deputy doormasters, and other bigwigs live. Ling Xuan stepped up, and a mountain peak in front of him came into view, and the aura was compelling. A large white waterfall fell from the top of the mountain and smashed into the deep pool, rumbling like 10,000 horses galloping. On both sides of the steps, large trees grow with branches like dragons, and many pavilions and halls hide them. It was the first time that Ling Xuan saw such an immortal scene, and he couldn't help but feel a little agitated. Chapter 3. Cutting Hu Xuanjian Martial Technique Thunder Shadow Sword Technique. A moment later, Ling Xuan walked into a pavilion. This is a tall and splendid pavilion, and the wood selected is more than 100 years old spirit wood to ensure that it will not be decayed by insects. At the entrance of the first floor of the Tibetan scripture pavilion, there is a middle-aged man with a gloomy face. This person is the deacon who guards the Tibetan scripture pavilion. Of course, he was not a great elder or peerless master. Just an ordinary deacon in the Qi condensation realm. In front of Ling Xuan, 2 more disciples were lining up to enter. Both of them were outer disciples, one majestic and the other thin and thin. That majestic disciple had a big waist and a majestic blood. With a glance, Ling Xuan knew that he had at least reached the perfection of the forging realm. And that thin disciple, even with a dish, is only an entry into the forging body realm. Such outer disciples have always been the object of Lei Yong's exploitation. When the deacon of the Tibetan scripture pavilion saw the majestic disciple, he got up enthusiastically, please come in, just tell me if you have anything. Quote. And when that thin disciple wanted to enter, he changed his face and stretched out his hand unceremoniously, a lower-grade spirit stone. Spirit stones are hard currency between monks. Spirit stones are divided into excellent, upper, middle, and lower grades according to their purity. In the meantime, the ratio has remained almost 100 to 100. 1 mid-grade spirit stone can be exchanged for 100 lower-grade spirit stones. However, 100 lower-grade spirit stones may not necessarily be exchanged for a medium-grade spirit stone. And almost all of them have to be at a premium of about 106 or 110. The thin disciple was stunned when he heard this, and he gritted his teeth and said, why doesn't that senior brother want money when he goes in, but I ask for money when he goes in. Quote. The deacon of the Tibetan scripture pavilion sneered disdainfully, you are a beginner in the forging body realm. How can you compare with someone who has completed the forging body realm? Pay quickly. Otherwise you wouldn't even want to go in today. Quote. In the end, the thin disciple was deadlocked and had to flick his sleeves away. A lower-grade spirit stone was already 1/3 of his entire body property, how could he easily hand it over? After that thin disciple left, it was Ling Xuan's turn. The deacon of the Tibetan scripture pavilion glanced at Ling Xuan. Name? Ling Xuan reported the name. The deacon of the Tibetan scripture pavilion glanced up at him and sneered, you are the former number 1 in the outer gate, you even destroyed your foundation. And you still have to choose martial arts? Quote. Ling Xuan frowned, Qingxuan disciples can choose martial arts, why can't I? Quote. The deacon of the Tibetan scripture pavilion laughed strangely, of course, hand over a lower-grade spirit stone, and I will let you in. Ling Xuan was speechless for a while. According to the door rules, disciples entering and leaving the Tibetan scripture pavilion are naturally free, and they only have to pay after selecting exercises and martial arts. But there are door rules, and there are countermeasures. This Tibetan scripture pavilion deacon has very little power, but he can still use it to exploit the weak and charge extra fees. However, he also very shrewdly avoided the powerful disciples. In this way, no one can take him. Ling Xuan didn't want to waste time, so he had to take out a lower-grade spirit stone and hand it over. The deacon of the Tibetan scripture pavilion smiled, that's right, I like people who know each other, let's go in. First,